Welcome back to Marketing Connected. I'm your host, Xinying, and this is Women Who Lead, a series where we sit down and get personal with female leaders of the marketing, advertising, and communications industry across the region in conjunction with International Women's Day 2026. We have on the line today Renee Stopps, the Regional Sales Director for Partner Sales APAC at Microsoft, dialing in all the way from sunny Australia today. Prior to that, she was also with Census, an advertising firm and print directory publisher for nearly 14 years. After that, she moved on to News Corp Australia as an account manager. Renee joined Microsoft in 2016 and rose through the ranks in the 9.5 years she's been there. Without further ado, welcome Renee. Pleasure having you on the show.
Oh, thanks, Shin. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Right, so just to kick us off, here on Women Who Lead, we spotlight female leadership in the workplace and the conversations surrounding it. So Renee, you've been at Microsoft, I would say, for nearly a decade now, starting out as account director and progressing to regional sales director for partner sales across APAC. So looking back on your experience, what has that journey into leadership been like for you? And did you ever have any moments of hesitation or challenges faced along the way?
My journey into leadership at Microsoft has been definitely not linear. I didn't think about going from an account director to a sales manager to now, a regional leader. I was given advice by a mentor early on in my career around taking the opportunity to build your skills and capabilities along the way, so continue to learn. And I think for me, that has really impacted my journey into leadership, because in a market like APAC, we're not as big as the US and we're not as big as EMEA, and we don't have as many leadership or management opportunities depending on the company that you work for. So that advice was given to me when I was thinking about what do I want to do next, or where do I go from here. And there was no role. My role I'm in today wasn't a role. This was created, and then because I was able to continue to learn and grow throughout my career journey, even as an account director, I had those skills built into my toolkit, so to speak. And then when that role came about, even though I might not have had APAC experience, I had other things that I was able to relate to what I was trying to achieve in that moment of going for that role. I've definitely had moments of hesitation, and there's been many challenges, especially stepping into roles where the path hasn't always been clearly defined, or the role is being just created. Which is where I am now. But if you don't take those opportunities, they may never come around again. And I'm grateful that I have taken them, because I feel with the failures and the learnings, you do become a better leader, a better person, and ultimately a better human.
I think that advice that you were given is so helpful across industries, right? It's not just for Microsoft. It's like applicable to everyone. As just don't stop learning, don't stop upskilling. Just keep improving on your skill set and your toolkit. Just, you never know for the future.
No, exactly. And especially where we are now with AI, many future roles, we don't even know what they're going to be. So you really need to be tuning into learning and, learning more about what you really love. And then that will give you the opportunity later on throughout your journey.
So true. Renee, when you first stepped into leadership, what helped to shape and anchor your confidence, especially in what we see as traditionally being a very male-dominated tech industry?
I think for me, moving into leadership, what I realized really early on was it's not about having all the correct answers. It's really about how you show up as a person. So anchoring myself in my values of what I really believe in, having grit, being really resilient, but showing up true to me. And no matter what environment I'm in around the business, or, when I felt challenged, then not running away from that challenge, but also running towards it. I think that has really helped my confidence, saying yes to opportunities that come my way that I know would really stretch me and put me out of my comfort zone. Because when you see yourself or you complete a project that you thought, wow, I'm never going to be able to do this, it really lights that fire within you and it gives you that confidence. You know, another thing that I love with my where I am today is watching people around me be successful, particularly my team or my peers or people I've managed or worked with in the past. And, you know, watching them achieve their goals through the coaching and mentorship and management and leadership that I've been able to provide along with my peers and colleagues, it really puts a big smile on your face, because you think to yourself, wow, you know, we're doing something right in the world when we are encouraging people and developing, you know, women and or men within their career, helping them find clarity.
And that's also like a different kind of job satisfaction, right? Like, you feel proud that you've achieved something that maybe you initially thought you couldn't achieve, and that makes it so much more rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that builds your confidence as the leader when you watch around you. You know, the best days for me is when my team achieve something that they didn't think that they could, or when they win a deal. You know, they're the best days because you're so proud of those moments, and, you know, that ultimately gives your team confidence, and then, you know, you as the leader confidence as well.
Yeah, I think with that, there's always been this reputation that the tech industry has been very male dominated all this while. But now we've seen that, like, you know, with women, including yourself, now stepping into senior leadership roles, what do you think this shift says about the narrative that is and how it's evolving? Where do you think there's still work to be done here?
Yeah, I think the fact that we are, you know, now seeing many more women at the table and in more senior positions, there's the facts to show that we are finally addressing the gap. I think it does show that there are many organisations out there who are recognising the strength and ability that women are able to bring, you know, through whether that's diversity at the table, you know, we bring innovation, you know, difference in culture. You know, I think there is still a lot of work to do. You know, we've been really focused on that at Microsoft around anyone we hire, and in whether they're in a manager position or an IC position, is just bringing that diversity. You know, one thing we really need to note as we move into this new kind of AI world that we're transitioning into is that representation of women do drop significantly at mid-stage of their career, especially in, you know, technical, commercial and engineering roles. And that's something that we just need to be consider. So when we're working with our team and our colleagues and peers, and we're really trying to bring up those women through the ranks of career, we really need to make sure we are nurturing them and continuing to build confidence and, you know, building pathways and giving them, women, just as much opportunity as what we are providing the males in our industry. Another thing, sorry, just to continue, I think all of us in the industry, you know, have a role to play to really ensure women are heard. And that, you know, obviously that's including males as well. So yeah, I started reading a new book, and it's written by a woman who is also a coach. She shares one of her stories around where she's coaching a group of women who are either coming back from maternity leave or are early in their leadership journey, around, you know, how confident they are. And I think one piece that I've taken from that book so early is that women, the gap in women leadership really stems from our confidence. You know, when we come back from maternity leave, we're not as confident, we're a little bit quieter, things change. You know, when we're changing companies, moving from one leadership role in one company to another, it's different. You know, we can suffer from imposter syndrome, quite, you know, more prominent, I believe, than men. So I'm excited to get into the book. I'll have to share the name with you, but it's about, you know, building confidence in the new AI age, and predominantly focused on women.
Very interesting.
Yeah, one of my friends shared it on LinkedIn, so I had to go and buy it.
So Renee, this year for International Women's Day, there is a theme, and it's called Give to Gain, which highlights reciprocity, support, and collaboration. As a leader yourself, what would you say are some of the ways that you have had the opportunity to give back, whether it's through mentorship, sponsorship, time, or simply just creating a space for others to grow?
I love giving back. I think giving back is something that we can do throughout our journey. To say thank you to the industry, to say thank you to the company for all the amazing opportunities that I've been given along the way. I really love watching women early in career, mid-stage career, really be successful in when they're achieving the goals that they set. And I am part of many external programs, one of those being the IAB program, and I'm now part of the IMAA Female Future Leaders program. And, this is about mentoring women in our industry to build confidence and, learn more about how to combat imposter syndrome or, the different subjects and topics that they bring. What I really do love about these programs, as well as giving back within my own team and Microsoft, is that it's a learning opportunity for me. Mentorship is about, I believe, a two-way. Like, I'm learning just as much as these amazing women are throughout these programs. And the IAB program isn't just a women's program, it's a male program as well. And I've been paired up in the past with, up-and-coming males throughout their journey. So I think, I love giving back. I have the opportunity to also lead the career development ERG for APAC at Microsoft Ads. And that program we have a V team, and we are all about creating initiatives and helping the APAC community at Microsoft Ads to really develop the skills that they want to, as I mentioned earlier, add those extra skills into their toolkit.
That's nice. I think another one thing that came to mind when you were sharing all this is what actually inspired you to want to give back. I think because for a lot of people, it's very easy to just fall into that comfort of like, I'm fine where I am. I'm happy where I am. I don't really have to go the extra mile, but you are going the extra mile. So what kind of got the train going for you there?
For me, it stems from my childhood. I grew up in Western Sydney in a low socioeconomic area, and people that I grew up with would only dream to be able to work for the companies, and now especially a company like Microsoft. So for me, I have been my mum. Everything that I have ever done in my career really stems from my mum. I'm being quite vulnerable here, but she's one amazing woman. She raised my sister and I on her own, worked for 4 jobs, and she was always doing everything she could for us to give us the best life that we have, and to bring us up as, amazing women just like her. So for me, that's where my giving back, and also my belief in everyone has a voice and everyone's voices should be heard. So that's kind of where my fire in, mentoring and sponsorship and just giving people a chance comes from.
That's so inspiring to hear. I feel like for a lot of women out there, like the closest person that they look up to is always their mom, because that's who we're surrounded with all the time as children, right? So great to hear that your mom was such an inspiring figure for you.
Yeah, she definitely is, and she still is today.
So Renee, we also did a little bit of LinkedIn stalking ahead of our conversation, and we noticed that you described yourself as a DEI advocate. What does DEI mean to you personally, and how do you translate that professionally?
I am a real passionate believer in that everyone deserves a chance, and everyone, has a voice, and we should be able to, as leaders, we need to be able to create that space for people to be seen and feel seen and heard. Showing up authentically to work. Throughout my career, I've experienced firsthand a difference that makes when leaders that I've worked with and managers that I've had have really created space for me, because sometimes I'm not the loudest voice in the room, but sometimes I am. And I think for me, D&I isn't just something that, it's not like a side project. It's something that I really live and breathe. For 6 years, I had the honour of and privilege of leading the APAC D&I Council. And through that council, we really drove programs that improved career, created safe environments for multiple markets, and every market in our region, which is what I love so much about working in APAC, is so diverse. We have multi-languages, multicultural. For us in this region, and me leading that council, it was all about, bringing knowledge, bringing diversity, bringing awareness to those different, to different markets, and creating that psychological safe space.
Right. So I think that's like DEI beyond the label, right? It's not just, but, putting it in practice daily. I guess maybe if it could be broken down a bit more. So in very more practical terms, how do these DEI values show up in the way you lead teams or maybe make decisions day to day at Microsoft?
Yeah, I thought a lot about this question when I think for me, it's really creating fairness and clarity in how we operate as leaders, and also how we build teams and how we work cohesively. As I shared before, in APAC, we work across multi and different cultures. There's multi-languages, and then within certain markets, there's multi-languages again. If you think about Japan, they've got, multi-language within Japanese. So, and then within each market and within each country, there's different expectations as well. So, I think for us, we really need to be intentional. And for me personally, I'm really intentional about giving everyone clarity, whether that's in business or expectations, or, whether we're in like group settings, and just providing the space. In my new role it's not new anymore, I've been in the role nearly 18 months, but that was a huge learning journey for me. I had to build a Japan team from scratch. I'd never worked in any other market outside of Australia, and that was so new. And understanding the Japanese culture, understanding even things like business hours, they work late into the nights, and similar to Singapore. So for me, it's really about creating clarity, being fair, making sure everyone's voices is heard, and giving people that safe space to come to.
And not just that, right? That's also in cultural context, like you say, and everyone's different, even down to the personal.
Exactly. Everyone's different.
So it's not even just like the
and
culture itself.
It's really about, giving everyone an equal opportunity, in simple terms.
Previously, you led the sales remit for Microsoft Advertising in NZEC, and today you are overseeing partner sales across APAC. How has that expansion in scope and focus been for you? And what has stood out most about working across such a diverse region? You did kind of touch on that a little bit, setting up Japan from scratch.
Yeah, I think, this role didn't exist before, and this past 18 months has been the most rewarding shifts in my career, but at the same time the most challenging.
As I
shared, I had to learn very quickly about a market that I had no idea about. I had to understand the business side of it. I had to meet new partners. We had to hire a team. For me, it was all about really listening, trying to understand. I'm not based in Japan either. I'm based in Sydney. So that's also been a big challenge on building trust. How do you build trust within your team? I've failed a lot along the way as well. There's been many challenges and many hurdles that we've had to face, both business, team and culturally. But it has definitely been the most rewarding year of my career journey and my leadership journey. And that's purely because I've built a great team. We have an amazing team of people, and then I've learned so much, like the amount of business challenges that we've had, operational challenges, and now we're a team that we have scaled so quickly. We've built this business really fast. We've grown it really quickly. We're operating in Australia, New Zealand, Japan, India, and we're continuing to build out in the region.
Amazing. And to think that you've just done that in a little over a year.
Yeah.
My gosh.
And just to add to that, with the failing and the learning, I think as a leader, we don't have all the answers, and that was something that I struggled with when I took this role, because I felt a lot of pressure to be as successful as I was in my previous role. So it was I really had to shift my mindset and say it's actually okay to ask for help, ask for guidance, particularly around, you know, decision makings and all the things that come with a new role. So it's definitely taught me to be, you know, more empathetic and be gentler to myself, so to speak.
I totally resonate with that.
And that's something that, you know, children do really well, and we kind of lose it as we move through our journey of life.
That is so true, now that you mentioned that. Or like childlike curiosity in a sense.
Yeah, listening, being curious are two really big learnings that, you know, you do learn throughout your leadership journey, but I really believe they are super important to take into any leadership role that you have.
And it also ties in really well with, I think, the leader that you mentioned before, who gave you, your mentor, who gave you a space to ask questions and just hear you out. So and
I think it is really important. I have been really lucky and surrounded myself with amazing male role models just as much as women throughout my journey. And yes, we need to create space for women, but we also need men to advocate for us, particularly when we're not in the room, and give us the space to grow and, you know, learn along the way.
And empowerment cannot just come from one side. It has to come from everyone, if possible.
Exactly right.
So Renee, to wrap up this conversation, what advice would you give to women earlier in their careers who maybe are aspiring to step into leadership roles, but they're kind of still navigating their self-doubt, industry barriers, or uncertainty about taking that next step?
I think the one piece of advice that I would give is don't wait to feel ready, or don't wait to think that you're ready to take on any opportunity that could potentially come your way. Because when you think about it, none of us are really 100% ready to do anything, particularly when big opportunities come our way. So, you know, in environments, you know, where women haven't always been well represented, or haven't always seen themselves well represented, is because we haven't felt ready. So my advice, you know, to anyone, whether you're early in career or, you know, throughout your career journey, don't wait to feel ready, and take those opportunities that are going to really stretch you, because those opportunities, sure, you'll fail, but you will learn so much, and it will make you a much better leader as you come out the other side.
That is so encouraging. On that note, thank you so much, Renee, for being a part of this episode of Women Who Lead.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great to have a conversation with you.
And to the listeners out there, fear not. Although this interview with Renee Stopps of Microsoft is over, we've got loads of other episodes for you to catch on our Marketing Connected channel and YouTube. Be sure to follow us on Marketing Interactive social media pages, Telegram, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook to get alerts on new podcast episodes. Once again, thank you for tuning in to Marketing Connected, brought to you by Marketing Interactive. Goodbye, everyone.